you've got Jameis Winston, who has become the ultimate example of NFL authenticity. He just is who he is. He doesn't have any pretense. He doesn't have any agenda. He doesn't try to be anything he isn't. And Russell Wilson, who, let's face it, is the all-time manicured, rehearsed, practicing press conferences from when he was 7 years old. Where is the real guy under the facade that is constantly presented? And I'm sorry, but that's been the vibe for over a decade now for Russell Wilson. So it is kind of an odd couple.
It really is. It's a threesome. I'm sorry, it's a threesome because it's more than a couple. All right, yeah. I mean, it really is. And then I'm
going to ask you to please elaborate, but not elaborate.
You add in Gavagoots, okay? Who's Jersey Italian guy? Still,
and
I don't know.
Agent.
I don't know if he's still living with his parents or all or whatever. But I don't think you could have a more interesting three in a room that could be any more different from their backgrounds to the way they act and everything. So. That would be interesting. I'd like to be a fly on the wall there with that group.
You know, it's funny. Anytime somebody says they'd like to be a fly on the wall, I say, you've got to sign on for everything else.
Yeah, you got to be smashed into the wall and never living again, right?
Or just like an affinity for dog crap. I mean, there's all sorts of things a fly does.
There is. You're right.
That would undermine the experience of being in a position.
Wow, deep thoughts by Mike Florio.
Things.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Odd couples, or if you want to go odd threesomes in the NFL, have at it. Today's draft, go.
Well, you have one of the guys on here, but not just because they're odd doesn't mean they can't flourish and be harmonious and awesome together. The one that always pops to my brain is Lawrence Taylor and Bill Belichick. Now, I know Bill wasn't the head coach, but he was the defensive coordinator. This is Bill Belichick, the ultimate disciplinarian, the team. And yet he had Lawrence Taylor where he was just like, do whatever you want. The hell with the rest of the team. You do whatever you want. Hey, you need a sleeping bag right here while I coach the rest of the team like it's do or die day. Like it's do or die, but you need to nap. And you didn't sleep last night. So you go to sleep there on the floor and get a little nap there while I coach the defense and like yell at them and tell them how they did everything wrong, and then just occasionally go, hey, Lawrence, you got that? And you roll over and go, yeah, I got it, right? I mean, to me, that couldn't have been a more odd, harmonious couple ever than those two right there. The greatness they produced on and off the field.
Well, and, I thought of him when we had the guys at the Combine talking about how Jalen Carter was asleep in the locker room before a game and just pops out of it and goes out and has 3 sacks.
Yes.
There are certain guys who are so good it doesn't matter what they do at the time when everybody else is freaking out and, studying and learning and preparing.
No doubt.
I'm going to start with a current twosome that really does seem like as different personality types as you possibly could have, and it's Jim Harbaugh and his quarterback Justin Herbert. Because Harbaugh is so over the top, praising Justin Herbert as one of the all-time greats, and Herbert is so reserved and so quiet and probably uncomfortable. And I think part of what Harbaugh is trying to do is draw Herbert out of that shell and get him to be a badass and get him to understand he is one of the all-time greats and to act accordingly. There are so many coaches who understand if the guy isn't naturally a sheriff, you need to try to make him one. You need to try to drag it out of him. So I think this natural combination of two very different personalities, the effort by Harbaugh is to try to make Justin Herbert more like him.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to work, but he's trying.
I hear you. It is. He's trying, and within that, we know that, Harbaugh can be a little funny and odd himself and all of that, and his descriptions and the things he says. He's truly become one of my favorite listens in all of football, Jim Harbaugh, with him getting mic'd up before the game and doing all that crazy crap.
You've come a long way.
I know.
A long way.
I know. A long way. Okay, this was an obvious one, right? I mean, I went Belichick and Lawrence Taylor were the first one to hit me in the head. The next one is seared into my brain forever because of a picture they took together. Right? And that's Mike Ditka and Ricky Williams. That couldn't have been more of an odd couple. First off, I mean, one, Ricky wore a dress, and I don't think Mike Ditka would ever do that. So let's just say that right there. Two, Ricky Williams is like quiet, soft-spoken, kind of just wants to be under the radar and just play football. And my Dicka's like this, and he's getting in fights, and he's yelling at reporters, and I think we became a team today, and doing all that with a big cigar in his mouth and is flashy and all that. And, of course, traded the whole team for a guy that was the opposite of him, and it didn't work out. But that to me came to my mind right after Belichick and LT.
Could you imagine being the seamstress who was given the measurements for the wedding dress that she had to make?
Right. Wait, how big are his arms and his pecs? Holy crap. Damn. Yeah, I know.
That was the first one I thought of when we did the Odd Couple thing. I texted Courtney last night and said, here's the picture, have this ready for tomorrow, because I figured one of us would use it. I'll go Belichick and Brady, because really when you take a step back and look at it, it's not quite LT. It's different. I mean, Brady is as different from Belichick as you could imagine, and they somehow managed to coexist for 20 years. Brady recently said it just got to the point where the only thing we could do was separate. It's amazing that it lasted 20 years, that Brady was willing to put up with all that Belichick attitude because, for the passes that Belichick gave to Taylor,
right,
he didn't give him to Brady.
Definitely
Isn't
not.
that odd?
No, it's odd, but it's the quarterback, right? It's also a guy where I think he realized I can make a lot of examples and perk a lot of people up in their meeting or on the practice field if I yell at this guy and show that he can take it.
Could have done it with LT.
Well, I know he could have. I don't know if he could have done that with LT, but I do think that's a little bit of the trick of the trade of that coaching staff. Like my dad used to tell me, like Parcells would warn him sometimes that he was going to yell at him in practice. Like, you've been doing great, but I'm going to chew you out today because I need to make a few examples to other guys on the team that need to hear it, right? And I think Belichick was a little that way with Tom Brady.
One more round when we wrap up this Wednesday edition of PFT Live right after this. All right, one more round. The NFL's odd couples inspired by Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson now on the Giants depth chart. Chris, who do you got?
I feel bad about kind of repeating, but I'm going to use a Tom Brady one here, and Tom Brady and Antonio Brown. We saw it two different times, right? New England and Tampa Bay. They lived together. I mean, Antonio Brown, of course.
Which makes it fit.
Which is amazing. It is. It's amazing. And it ended up not being harmonious at the end and it's splitting apart, kind of which I think we all thought maybe would happen. But that was an odd couple that made some harmony there for a little while, certainly. Brady was into living forever, and Antonio Brown tried to freeze his feet off in the cryotherapy thing.
There are plenty of others that could make this list. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw. Buddy Ryan and Kevin Gilbride, who can forget those two when they were coordinators with the Houston Oilers. Brian Flores and Tua Tagovailoa, a very recent oil and
Reggie White and Buddy Ryan I thought about just because Reggie was such a soft-spoken man and Buddy was not.
But I gotta go officially with a Kirk Cousins. My good friend Mike Zimmer.
Him, huh?
When they're on the sideline.
There they are.
There they are.
You love
them.
them.
Get out of here. You get out of here.
The Vikings, baby.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.